lot of running backs are hurt, and we're here to talk about it with Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News Fantasy Source. I'm Tom Vandervoort. It's time for Dodge Ram Fantasy Update. If I had Cedric Benson or I had Ryan Williams, I got to come up with a plan B here, Matt.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot with either of those two. The good news, if you can call it good news, is that Ryan Williams wasn't that good. So you're not hurt that much.
You're not missing that much.
No, you're not. But it is a tough spot for a lot of fantasy owners, especially the Benson owners, because he was playing pretty well. And there's going to be a lot of waiver claims put in this week on William Powell in Arizona, on Alex Green, maybe James Starks in Green Bay. The problem is we don't really know what to expect from those guys. You know, you look at the Cardinals, and they're averaging a league low 2.7 yards per carry. It almost might not matter who they put in there. So that's a real tough spot to get into. You can't count on those backs for much at all. In Green Bay, they're averaging 4.3 yards per carry. That's top 10. That's a lot better.
Right. So just taking whoever gets that spot is a better strategy for Green Bay.
There's potential value there, but is it going to be Green? Is it going to be Starks? I like Starks long term just because he's been there before.
Right.
But honestly, we don't know right now. Both these situations are going to be fluid throughout the rest of the season, I think.
So if you didn't want to just do that, is there somebody else, the guy that you should be thinking about to fill this spot?
Well, just for running backs, I mean, you're just going to have to keep your head up. I mean, there's going to be injuries now. We're in that portion of the season. There's going to be injuries every week. There's always going to be someone new. So just keep paying attention and see what happens and look at carries. All
right. Now, at quarterback position, we saw an injury last week, Robert Griffin III. We knew it was going to happen if we've been watching the games. Yeah. You know, you've got Cam Newton in that similar system. Michael Vick didn't have a great game. So what do I do at this position if I've got one of these guys that runs the ball a lot?
Yeah, these dual threat quarterbacks, the big selling point before the year was their consistency because they get these points with their legs. Just 40 yards rushing is equivalent to 100 yards passing. So these guys were supposed to be more consistent, but this past week, not the case. You know, Tim Tebow still not playing. Jake Locker hurt. Russell Wilson, very underwhelming this year. All these dual threat guys are kind of disappointing this year with the exception of Griffin, who, like you said, is hurt, and I think people are worried is going to continue to get hurt in the future. To me, you just got to sit tight with these guys. Cam Newton, I think, is a good buy low candidate. I think he's going to step up. He's still the premier short yardage rushing quarterback in the NFL.
So could we count on him for some touchdowns at least?
I think so, yeah. You know, last week's only the second time in his career he didn't score a touchdown. I think that's a fluke. I mean, second time. It is a fluke. So he's going to get
better.
Good
definition of fluke.
Exactly. Griffin's the guy who probably has the most value going forward, but after this injury, people are spooked now. They're scared. If you try to trade him, you're not going to get good value for him. You just got to sit tight with these guys. Vic is the one who I'm kind of leery on. He's reckless with the ball. We've seen him be bad against good defenses, bad against bad defenses. When you're that careless with the ball, it almost doesn't matter who you're playing.
Yep, very true. All right, now we always want from you guys a sleeper pick. Give me one or two guys that maybe I should think about this week.
Well, I think it's that time of the year where you have to start looking at how teams are adjusting. And one thing I noticed last week was the Seattle Seahawks, they had a different game plan. They were much more efficient. Or I should say they put Russell Wilson in position to be more efficient. It was kind of a safe game plan. And Sidney Rice had season high in catches with 5, season high in yards with 67. He's a guy I kind of like going forward. We know he's talented.
Right.
So it's a matter of, is he going to be in position to make plays? I think they're doing that now, and this week they're playing the Pats. They're going to be throwing a lot. They're back home, which is big for that team. So I kind of like Sidney Rice having a little breakout game this week.
All right, there you go. Sidney Rice. That's Matt Lutovsky. I'm Tom Vandervoort, and that's your Ram Fantasy Update.